Welcome to the Mind for Success podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Lebbing, and I love seeing business professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs have massive success in their businesses. Are you ready to reach a higher level in your business? Are you looking to rise to the top and break through the barriers that are holding you back? If this is you, join us on the Mind for Success podcast. Hello and welcome to the Mind for Success podcast. Today, I am super excited to introduce my guest, Swire Ho. And Swire is the owner of Garuda Promo and Branding Solutions. He lives out in California now. He's out in Los Angeles, but he was born and raised in Hong Kong. And I love his story. He started out, he owned a recording and entertainment company and agency, Hellman Productions. And then, like so many of us entrepreneurs and business owners, he developed some t-shirts and CD covers, and it sounds like it went really, really well. and before long, people were requesting things, and I just love his story. And there's a lot more to that. So I'm going to let him tell you though. So now he does primarily promotional products. Welcome to the show, Swire.
Thank you for having me on today, Kim.
You are quite welcome. So I want to get started because I loved your story on how you got started in your business. So could you share?
Yeah, I'm taking you all the way back to the beginning. I was trained to become a recording engineer and work at the recording studio. One thing led to another. On the day of my honeymoon, I found out that the company that I worked for at the time went on a business. So now I am newlywed, have no job. What am I going to do? So at the time, I have contacts in the recording industry, entertainment industry. And at that time, back in 2003, we still buy CDs and DVDs. So I decided to start a company replicating CD and DVDs, making copies for the albums, the movies that we have. So we done that business for about 10 years, and my wife became my business partner along the way. So it's another backstory there. And hindsight is 2020. In 2013, there's a competitor who wanted to purchase us, who are in the same industry. I'm glad that we sold it back in 2013. Is when we have faster internet, when Netflix still taking over the industry. So we now focus exclusively in promotional products.
Very smart. And yeah, I love that. I love that you got out of that at the time that you did. So that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about the beginning days when you got started. Because we talked a little bit about that. You had a lot of perseverance from what I remember.
Yeah, I didn't know anything, so I think starting a business now is actually easier than, back in 2003. We have, podcasts like yours, you can learn about, different strategy. Back then, there was none that was available to me. So I found a list, a directory of recording labels in Los Angeles. And my record is cold calling 100 of them in a single day. So that was a good experience. I learned how to create my pitch. And then that day I learned about how to handle rejection. A lot of emotional stuff went on that day. And I think not suggesting anyone listening to do that, but it was a good experience for me.
I can believe it and now it's so much easier because I think people starting out now or, even in the last, 5-10 years, they don't have that anymore because we have the internet. So you don't necessarily have to hear those no's until you pick up the phone and you actually have calls with people. So it's admirable.
Yeah, it's not that long ago. I do have the internet, but what I'm saying is there are now a lot of podcasts. Even like your podcast, Kim, is you actually have expert to talk about their experience. Before, I don't have that, and unless you go to find a book to read it. And even for our government, they have a lot more resources to help small business. Then along the way, I actually found out that there actually are a lot of help out there which in the beginning, I think the first 5 years, didn't know that they exist. If I've known, that could save me years, for starting and creating my own business. Because, talk about accounting, the legal structure, how do you actually create a PO? Didn't know that. And then along the way, that's what I had to do. And that's, I have to spend nights and days, just to find out what it is.
Right. Yeah, we definitely have everything at our fingertips now. So it does make everything faster and easier. So it's great that you had the experience though, because I don't know, I think it gives us some grit, some staying power.
Yeah.
So you talked about, part of what you do is help people with marketing and target audiences and things like that. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you. When people think about the promotional industry, they like to use the word swag. Like, what kind of swag do you have? What kind of swag are they giving out? Do you know what swag stands for?
I have no idea.
Swag actually stands for stuff we all get. So a lot of articles, especially, recently, Fast Company has an article, can we kill off the swag industry finally? They think it's wasteful, something that you just pass away and create landfill. My approach and what I would encourage my client to do is to create a VIP experience instead. Instead of everyone to be your client, everyone to have your item. What if you only give it to your top 10 client? What if you only give it to people that can really afford your product and services? And if in marketing, if you're targeting everyone, you're actually targeting no one. So that's my mindset and my approach, in my industry.
I love the VIP approach. That is, so you got my ears perked up on that. So tell us a little bit more about what that might look like with somebody that wanted to really treat those VIP clients or those potential clients really, really well.
Well, I recently went through the same exercise myself. After 10 years, I reread the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And in one of the chapter, he said that the 20-80 rules, which is 20% of your client give you 80% of your business. I decided to open up this year's, I use QuickBooks, so I generate a report per customer. And it's not quite 80%. I found out that the top 10 client give me 76% of my business. So that's huge. And then I went back 3 years prior. It's in the 70s, 74, and 76. That means that my top 10 client gave me that amount of business. What if I only focus on these 10 companies? I make sure that they get the best service available. Obviously, I will welcome other people who call me daily for new business. But what if I could really service this 10 company? Am I able to create more relationship? And some of them are bigger company, right? Corporations. Am I able to do more business within their other department? So how would that affect my bottom line? So I think instead of thinking everyone, which I could help everyone. What if moving forward, I only help this 10 customer? And what if I could find out the title, what kind of things they like, what kind of pain points that they have, and I create similar avatar. So I now cloning my top 10 to be top 20. Am I able to double my sales that way? So I think that's a really nice concept. And I'm glad that I reread that book, and it got me to thinking about, seeing the top 10. And it's been that way for the past 5 years.
I love that you took a book that you read and then applied it in a different way seriously, it's smart. So I love that you did that. And I think there's so much value whenever you focus. That's really how our brains work. So you attract more whenever you are really honed in on that target client.
I think it kind of saves you money too, because I now know from the top 10, I list as much information as I possibly can. What title do they have? Possibly what kind of magazines, blog, website they visit, because it's 10. I could really dig deep into that. I go through all the email correspondence that I've had with them. How often do they order? When do they order? And what kind of timeline do they usually have? So I answer a lot of questions. So in our marketing, then I eliminate actually, some of the platform that they're never going to be on, right? They're never going to find me. I decided none of them found us on Instagram. So we put less focus on Instagram for our internal marketing now. So a lot of them are on LinkedIn. So I'm going more deeper into LinkedIn. So you could do the same for your own top 10 or top 20, if you like, really find out. And I'll ask you not to add on to marketing. You eliminate things that you don't need.
That is so smart. It really is. And I think that's a lesson everybody needs to hear. I'm even thinking about myself. I've been evaluating whether or not I took a TikTok course recently. I'm not on TikTok other than an account. And I took a course in that recently and have been going, should I be on TikTok? Should I not be on TikTok? And what you just said was really, really valuable, that eliminating things is that's where it's at, because then you can really focus and get good at whatever platform or whatever space that you want to do your marketing in.
I think it's nice to have new clients. We all want new client and new business, but after look at the report, it kind of changed my mind. The top 10, none of them really found us on social media. None.
Oh, really?
That's funny. We do some government contracting. So I know that your government actually represent 30% of our business this year. So this Wednesday, there's an in-person event to meet the buyer. I jump on that opportunity right away because it's been 2 years since we see each other face-to-face in person. So, it's good that I know where the target audience are, and that's where you want to be, really.
Right. So for somebody else trying to apply this, what would you advise them to do first?
If you have access to your financial report, do you open that and go through the past 3 years? If you could sort by, the amount or whatever matrix that you have, who give you the most business, do the top 10 first, right? And then to see if it's same scenario as I do, my top 10 gave me 76%, which I think if today I lose the rest of them, I could still survive with 76% of my business. And then once you identify your top 10 or your top tier, right? Let's say top tier, find out as much as you can about, first of all, where did they find you? So if I only have 10, I will be and I have been calling all of them and just have a follow-up conversation. And you can ask them actually, what kind of magazines do you like to read? How do you find out news about your industry? What keeps you up at night the most? And then you make your notes. And if you can solve that pain, that's where you become a partner instead of a vendor. Because in my industry, when you think about promotional product, it's a commodity. Thousands of my competitor can find the same pen as I do, but why do they choose working with me? So I actually asked that question. Sometimes you want to be, you anticipate the response. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. And for you to do that, you don't want to get defensive, and you want to recognize that maybe when they point out, well, I don't like how you email me so much, then you take notes. I only want you to text me, or I only want you to call me. So you make notes that people have the preferred way to be contacted. Now I made my notes in my CRM exactly the way that they want to be contacted. So think about if someone knows you that well, and then, if you're a big corporation, you don't really mind who you do business with. You have the choice. Would you rather to do someone that you know nothing about, or do you do someone who knows you really well and then even know when and where you want to be contacted? So I think that is really simple, and that's why going back to the beginning, you need to be target, and you wanted to know more about your client than they know about themselves.
That's valuable stuff. Really, really. So we also talked about some struggles. I'm going to shift a little bit. So just struggle, because everybody has them, right? Everybody has them in their businesses. So what are some things that maybe you struggled with in the past, that maybe you've overcome now?
I think this is something that I still working on, and we just talked about that. Really, there are my top 10 who are so happy to hear from me every day. If I call them, they will pick up. There are others that I'm trying to pitch, right? Try to sell, right? I'm a salesperson. They don't want to take my call. And then sometimes I feel beat up, and sometimes I feel discouraged. And sometimes they will say, oh, I get this cheaper. Can you match it? Or can you lower your price, or whatever unreasonable term that thrown at me? Sometimes as a business person, as an entrepreneur, you get depressed sometimes. So it's continue to encourage myself saying, I have my top 10. I'm actually okay. I might not need, the other discouragement that's thrown at me. I think to keep a positive mindset and to know that there is someone who out there who loves you to do what you do. I think it's key to success, because if you feel like you're getting beat down, and if you, especially for my call, going back to the 100 call, my wife wasn't my business partner yet. To warm up after a day, I actually will call her and talk to her for 10 minutes first to warm up, and to call people that are always welcome to pick up the phone and talk to you, to warm up before I dial my cold calls, right? Cold calls sometimes are tough. You get hang up, you get call names, and sometimes, you get things that you don't want to hear about. So don't beat up yourself, be positive. That's, I think, how I'm learning and keep on, want to focus every single day.
Right. That's key. And when making calls, I mean, it's not personal. You don't know what the other person on the other end, what they're dealing with, and why they're crabby that day or whatever it is, why they want to hang up or yell or whatever it is. You don't always know the story on the other side. And that's something, I talk to clients about as well, is just, looking at other perspectives so that you can not take it so personally.
Yeah, I think, there's nothing personal. It's number, it's business. So maybe really that day they don't need your service. So, but do follow up. I think follow up is also a key to success. I think my record is 5 years to follow up and keep on, persistent with a client, because think about that. People move on. People switch jobs. Maybe you're trying to get into a company who always tell you no. What if their personnel changes? Now there's a new personality that you feel connected with. So don't give up. Keep trying.
Right. You're right. You don't know when people change. I had a personal experience. There was an organization that I used to be a part of, and then I stopped, and I said, I'm never going back. And yesterday I visited again. I said, you know what? I think things have changed now and it's different. Maybe this would be a good fit now. So you just never know when people are in those different mind spaces or circumstances, just like you said. It's important. So, and follow up. I think that a lot of businesses, entrepreneurs, I don't know if it's a fear, if they're afraid of the rejection. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why people don't, but the fact that you kept for 5 years, that's a long process. And it obviously has paid off.
Yeah, I think the question, and again, this is something that I work on every day, is people like to talk about themselves. So my goal as a salesperson is not to tell them all about my features and benefits. I will actually, now when I begin a sales call, I'll actually ask good questions. So they actually share their pain point. What are they working on? What are they most struggle with? Am I able to help them so that I could take that pain away? For example, I just talked to a client that do holiday gifts, right? Holiday gifts is a big quarter, right? So I found out that every year they send out themselves 300 addresses to their client. So I actually tell them right away, do you know we actually offer drop shipping? So just give me all the addresses, tell me what you want to buy, and then we'll ship it out for them. Then your hands are free. clients are so happy.
I
Finally,
bet
they
they
were doing
are.
it for 5 years, and they're a big company. They could afford, and they've been paying the shipping anyway. So for a small fee, I can outsource it. So I can now sit back and look good, and my pains are gone. And so do you ask your client? Do you connect with them? Periodically, and not to sell them and tell them benefits and features, and just ask them to talk about themselves. And people really do like talk about themselves.
Yeah, yeah, they do. They do. That's probably the number one. Well, especially with a beginning person in sales, it's probably a combination of confidence, and they talk too much in the beginning. Like, we just talk too much, and we don't really find it. We don't listen to hear what the prospect, what the client really needs. So that's powerful.
It's scary though. Listening is a really hard skill to learn. Sometimes you do want to jump in, you do want to tell them, I'm an expert, right? I know everything about your industry. Sometimes it's hard to just sit and listen, and then you got to make notes. And once you make those notes, you can actually ask questions that are more intelligent than if you just tell them and product dump them. So sometimes, a lot of time when you have a meeting, they just dump you 30 minutes of their stuff, and they don't ask you 0 questions. And why do we need to schedule that meeting? Why can't you just put it on your website and I could, watch a video and that's it? So asking question, I think, is a key to success for a salesperson.
Yeah, yeah. That's a key to a lot of things, quite honestly, to asking good questions. If everybody in the whole world asked better questions, we probably wouldn't have so much fighting and divisiveness going on in general.
Agree.
So yeah. So I want to switch again, because I was really, when I looked again before we got on here, because we talked at a different time, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your hobbies and interests, because we've got some common ones, just because it's interesting. So, and I noticed that I downloaded your gift guide, and we'll tell everybody where to find that, but I downloaded your gift guide, and I noticed there were quite a few that were, health related. So tell us about that.
Thank you. So I have so many hobbies all the time, right?
Right.
I'm all a fitness person. I'm a certified kettlebell trainer. I'm actually training to become a barbell instructor. So my whole world is about fitness and health, and that's what I get into. And I'm able to tie them back to business. So I promote health and wellness program for HR professionals. So I'm able to use promotional product and somehow tie it into my hobby. So when you do something that you're passionate about, do something fun, you get more excited. You get more energetic, right? Doing that. So happy that I'm able to tie those two in together.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And that's something that I've noticed in the interviews that especially since I've started this podcast, I've noticed that some of the most successful people also have a very passionate hobby that they do. And the fact that you can tie it into, what you're doing, what your business is really brilliant. Like you said, keeps the passion going.
Yeah, because people can tell, and sometimes we do work too much. I would say, going back to the 4-hour work week, I don't think I could do it in 4 hours. But then there are a lot of tips. After 10 years, I reread the book that really comes to mind. I think the best things that anyone can do is to list out tasks that you really hate to do, that you could easily find someone to do it for you. It could be a lot of things, right? I won't file my taxes myself, right? I would hire a CPA that is way better qualified than I do, right? And when we talk about fitness, you could do it yourself, but it's harder than if you hire a professional who knows what they're doing. Your result can be faster. So it's just a balance of, your time, money, and, where you want it to go. So I think by looking at that, there are definitely a lot of things that we don't need to do ourselves daily.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. You reminded me of a book I've been reading, Who Not How. And he talks about that. I'm trying to think of the author. I could look, but if you look that up, he talked about procrastination being a sign that you need to find a who person. So you need to, so if you are procrastinating, say on getting your taxes together or your accounting, that's a sign that you need to get a person to do that for you, which was a nice, it was a nice twist on procrastination, I thought.
Especially you can find someone out there for hire that do it 10 times better than you do. They are available no matter what you do. You could hire a very good agency to help you in marketing. Yeah, they charge more, but then they also are a lot better than what you do. Or if you say, I really hate sales, there are agencies that can help you do that. Or really, for example, the podcast, right? Kimberly, you hire a professional company to help you fine tune the podcast. Those obviously they do it better. So there are obviously categories that we want to hang on to as an entrepreneur. We think we are invincible. We think we know everything, but there are something to start with that you really don't like to do, that you're dragging on your feet. Just think about, I have to do that, right? I have to do that again. So those are the things that you could hire out.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Totally 100% agree with you on this. So that's also valuable. So now I'd like for you to tell them where to download your holiday guide, because especially now that's relevant. If you happen to be listening to this next year in July, you still want to check out his stuff, because I think gifts like the VIP gifts that you were talking about, if you really want to keep clients and grow your company, that is taking care of people. There's so much value in that, and people really value it.
Thank you, Kim. I think the first thing is really to define your target audience, because without answering the questions, you don't know what kind of gift you should buy. So I think the number one question that people ask me, what kind of things should we buy? And then my answer will be, who are your target audience? Sometimes we stop that conversation there because they haven't figured it out themselves. If you give me a pen, okay, if you give Kim a pen, we'll take it, but does it relevant to what we do? Are you making a connection with your product? Instead of doing things that goes to the landfill, if you give me and Kim will have something that we connect with personally. And if you take the time to find out if you send me a kettlebell with your logo on it, I'll definitely use it every single day. I post it on my social media. I think, Kim, you have other things that you would love to post on social media right away if someone give it to you. I won't know what that is if you don't know who your target audience will be. But everyone likes certain things. Or if you only have a top 10, you better know your top 10 and what kind of hobbies and things that they like to do. So that actually helps me 90% of my job is to let me know who your target audience will be. And the list we have created is to define certain categories that people are connected with. Hopefully by knowing those categories, you can link up to your target audience. So the key to success is not to buy something that everyone likes. The key to success is buy something that your top 10 will like, and that will be a successful campaign. Think of it as a campaign that you want return on investment. You want people to engage with you. What if they receive your gift and then they call you right away and thank you? And now you could start a conversation to talk about your product and services. It could be achieved if you really target and be personable with what you're sending others.
I love that. So now tell them where to find the guide. We'll have a link in the comments, but for those that are maybe driving and listening or whatever, where can they go to find the guide?
Well, connect me with on LinkedIn. I live and work on LinkedIn. So just put in my name, Swire Ho.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, also go to our website at garudapromo.com. You'll find the information there. And then take look at the show notes that Kim will be posting. You can find me, just Google Swire Ho, and I'm all over the place.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being on today. I want to thank our listeners. Do go and download his gift guide and, find him on LinkedIn. We'll have all the links in the show notes. And I just want to thank you for being on today. This was very valuable and I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, it's fun. Thank you, Kim.
All right. Thank you.
Are you ready to break through the barriers that are holding you back and reach a higher level in your business in just 4 hours? Be sure to click the link today and join other high-achieving professionals that have worked with Kimberly Lebbing to accelerate their success.